How to start an Airbnb management business. Managing short-term rentals and Airbnb properties can be one of the most lucrative businesses out there. And there's a ton of demand for it because this is a very specialized niche that many people are not involved in. So let's just imagine you can start a business doing this, make a ton of money, making people happy, giving guests what they need, giving hosts what they need. And here's the fun part. You can do most of this without ever leaving your home, just using your phone. I'm gonna tell you how. Let's go. So first of all, let's talk about what Airbnb is. We said short-term rentals, and I told you when we started, short-term rentals are a very lucrative business to be in. That's because instead of renting the properties out on a monthly basis, like most people have a rental property and they rent it out on a monthly basis, you know, obviously people stay there for a year or 2 years and they pay the landlord each month. That's typically how the rental business works. However, with the short-term rental business, instead of renting out an unfurnished apartment or unfurnished house, you furnish the property, you put in the necessities, and you rent it out on a nightly basis. And you use sites like Airbnb, HomeAway, Vacation Rental by Owner, Booking.com, and all of these other great websites, okay? And I'm actually really starting to really like Booking.com, so we'll get to that in a second. This is basically a business. When we say an Airbnb business, management business, this is a business where you will help manage the business. You will help manage the properties. So with the Airbnb platform, you have guests that will go to the Airbnb website or the Booking.com website, or again, whichever website, and it has properties there that are there's pictures, and the person can rent the property out for a night, for 3 nights, for 7 nights, whatever. Hosts, those are people that have properties, they go on the website and they list their properties, okay? So they're the host, and then they find guests, and Airbnb and those websites act as the intermediary between the guests and the host. So the business of an Airbnb management business is the person that helps the host manage the guest, okay? There are tons of people that want to do Airbnb, they want to do short-term rentals, they want to make more money with their rental properties. However, they are just not interested in dealing with guests. They don't want to handle how we check them in, how we check them out, how do we get the properties clean. And this is the opportunity that exists. Because there are so many people that have properties with long-term tenants in there, they don't even know that they could be making 2-3 times more money than they're making on that property if they just put the property as a short-term rental property. But many of them think that, oh man, that's just too much work for me. I'd rather just have that tenant. They pay me each month. I can't even be bothered. Well, you can help them get that extra money and be that person that helps do this business. So let me tell you how. So now here is the opportunity that exists, okay? Airbnb management businesses. These are companies that can be created and that have already been created, but there's just not that many, that help owners, people that already have properties, people that are already landlords, turn their business or turn that property into a short-term rental business, but they need help managing it, okay? Think about this for a second. I literally have students that are making $5,000, $10,000 a month, and here's the caveat. With Airbnb management, no owning properties, okay? You do not have to own the properties. Like I said, there's already people that have rental properties that want to do this. Okay? You don't have to make the mortgage or the rental payments. I'm not talking about you having your own Airbnb business. All right? I've made that as a separate video. If you want to actually rent the properties yourself or own them yourselves and do this, you can. But I'm just talking about creating a business where you help manage, you manage Airbnbs. You do not have any mortgage or rental payments. You do not have to do that, okay? I'm gonna tell you how. And then no credit checks. Again, you're not going to be applying for these properties. You're helping manage them. You're gonna be managing the guests. You're gonna be managing the cleaning team. This is what I'm talking about. This is what you're gonna be managing. And then no income verification. All right, so you do not have these things. This is so important. This is why this is an amazing thing that you can start today, because you don't have to do any of these things. So what you are going to be managing, like I said, are the guests and the cleaning. So let's talk about that. So as an Airbnb management company, as a business that does Airbnb management, you're going to manage the guests and the cleaning team. Those are going to be your primary responsibilities. You may have to do a couple or manage the handyman if there's a couple of repairs that need to be done or things like that. But usually you don't have to, you just manage those things. You don't have to actually do them. So let's talk about managing the guests. What does that mean? Because that's pretty simple. And this is why you can do all of this from your phone. So the person, again, that you find and they need help turning their properties into Airbnb management, or they want to put their properties on Airbnb, but they don't want to deal with that stuff. Okay. And literally I have properties in Dallas and I pay an Airbnb management company and they get 20% of my revenue. And I gladly give it to them because I make more than I would on the properties than I would with a long-term tenant. And all they do is they manage those messages to and from the guests, letting the guests into the properties, telling the guests how to check into the properties. If the guest needs to know, like, where's the coffee or where do I find the extra towels? That company handles it. And this is the company that you can create. There's tons of people like Noelle that have decided to go from long-term tenants to short-term tenants, or short-term guests. Sorry, they're not tenants, they're guests. And we don't want to deal with the guests. We have enough money, we have enough properties, we don't want to. Or we only have a couple of properties, so we need to make even more money on them. The truth be told, this is actually a business that you could do with people that just have onesie, twosie properties, because they are gonna be more apt and open to this because they probably don't have someone to do this. They're used to the long-term tenant. They want to make more money. So they actually will make more money even with your cut. So giving you an example, if there's a landlord that you find, very easy to do. You can find them on Craigslist. You can find them on Zillow. I talked to you about how to find them. I have plenty of videos on that, and I'll make sure I put description in the box below for you. You find people that already are landlords. They have a long-term tenant, and now they want to move to a short-term tenant. All you have to do is sign them up as the management company. I'm not saying sign a lease. I already have videos if you want to actually own them and rent them yourselves and have control over them. But this is just a business where you manage the guests. You will handle the messaging. You will handle the communication with the guests. You will handle the cleaning team. You will make sure the cleaning team cleans the property. When they leave, when they schedule it, you will handle those things. That's an entire business that you can do directly from your phone. All you have to do is put the properties up there. The owner of the property is the host and you become the co-host. That's it. And you literally can start adding in a management fee. All of the costs can be pushed onto the guest essentially. The host could pay you, the person that owns the property could pay you, or you can put a small management fee in for every single booking you get. And again, people book for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. You may have 8, 10 bookings a month with one unit. And imagine if you picked up $50, $100 for every single one of those and you have multiple properties. So this is the business of it, where you're just managing the Airbnbs, you manage the guests, you manage the cleaning, you do it from the Airbnb app, the Booking.com app. You never even have to leave your home. It's amazing. Last but not least, you may be called in to help with some of the decor or furniture pickings, or getting, the property may need something and you may be responsible. For example, people steal towels. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Not that they steal towels all the time. You're buying towels every single day, but there's gonna be some guests that may steal the towels. And as the management, B&B management, you would be responsible to go ahead and replace those towels for them, okay? So you would do some of those type of things for the owner so that they are not bothered in any way by that property. They just make sure they pay the rent, they make sure the taxes and the insurance is paid, and then you handle the rest. And you pick up your management fee, you can pick up the cleaning fees, you can pick up a percentage of the revenue from the seller, you do a profit share with them. And that is how you get paid. And this is how I have students that have just a few properties, and I mean just a few, and they are making $5,000 minimum a month managing other people's Airbnbs. Okay, so I have made an entire course teaching you all of this on how to actually have an Airbnb business. And then once you learn that, I teach you how you can then scale that. You can do an Airbnb cleaning business. You can do just the Airbnb management. You can do all of the things that you need to do. Go to bnbriches.com. It's a very, very affordable course that I've made that will teach you all of this. It provides all of my scripts, all of my contracts, the templates that you need, give you the education that you need. And now I have a code. You can save 50% off this very, very low price. Again, I just want you to be successful. You can pay a very, very low price and get 50% off. Go to that website, use the code SAVE50, and make sure you go ahead and get the full training on this so you can start making money in the next 30 days. This is Noelle, to your success.